Welcome to Sleepy Historian, where old tales whisper by candlelight and memories gently drift into dreams. Tonight, let us journey back to a time long asleep in history.
Imagine you are a silk weaver in Constantinople in the year 976 dead outside your window. The sun beats down on the bustling city. Merchants call out prices in the agora. The rhythmic clang of a distant blacksmith echoes through the narrow streets. Sunlight streams through your open doorway, illuminating motes dancing in the air. Your fingers fly over the loom, weaving threads of gold and purple into a sumptuous fabric. You work quickly, deftly maneuvering the heavy wooden shuttle as you weave the intricate patterns of a Byzantine empress's robe. Your nimble hands, guided by generations of training, ensure each design element is executed with precision. But it's hot, very hot. Beads of sweat trickle down your forehead and neck. You pause, wiping your brow with a linen cloth. As you look up, you notice a small crack in the wall outside. Beyond it, a sliver of blue sky peeks through the city's maze of buildings. The sight refreshes you. Remembering the coolness of shade, you finish the pattern with renewed vigor. The fabric you create has been commissioned by the Emperor Byzantium II, renowned for his military victories and shrewd rule. Little do you know the silk you weave will adorn the empress at a grand ceremony, where she will watch her husband receive an honored guest, the King of Bulgaria, who has come to pay tribute to the mighty emperor. In this moment of creative focus, you embody the essence of Byzantine craftsmanship. Your work is a microcosm of the empire itself, rich, vibrant, and intricate. You are a vital part of the economic engine of Constantinople, producing goods that bring wealth and prestige to the city and the empire. The cloth you make today will find its way into the royal court, becoming a tangible link between ordinary life and the seat of imperial power. The clatter of your loom blends with the sounds of the city, creating a symphony of urban life. Your small workshop, tucked away in a corner of Constantinople, is a universe unto itself, where the rhythm of creation is the heartbeat of the city. The next scene begins in a bustling market in Constantinople. Vendors hawk their wares, merchants haggle over prices, and the air is thick with the aroma of spices and exotic foods. The year is 1148, and you are a merchant from Venice. Your ship has just docked, bringing silks and glass from the east, and you are here to sell your wares. The market is a riot of color and sound. Persian carpets with intricate designs, Chinese porcelain, shimmering in the sunlight, and bales of Indian cotton all vie for attention. The most prized item you possess, a magnificent Byzantine gold coin. You eye a merchant from Antioch, hoping to exchange it for a jar of cinnamon, a commodity highly sought after in the West. As the transaction is made, you feel the weight of the coin in your palm, knowing it could buy you unimaginable luxuries in Venice. The coin is more than just metal and stamped figures. It is a symbol of the wealth and power of the Byzantine Empire. With your purchase secured, you head toward the waterfront, anticipating the familiar creak of your ship and the salty tang of the sea. The taste of cinnamon lingers on your lips, blending with the salt spray as you set sail for home, carrying with you the essence of the East and the memory of a golden coin. Our third scene unfolds in the Hippodrome in Constantinople during the year 1204. The roar of the crowd is deafening, the air alive with anticipation. You are a spectator at the chariot races, one of the most popular forms of entertainment in the Byzantine Empire. Charioteers whip their teams of horses into a frenzy, racing around the track in a display of speed and skill. The thud of wheels on the ground and the shouts of the charioteers blend into a chaotic melody. The aroma of roasted meat and spiced wine hangs in the air as vendors sell refreshments to the excited spectators. You cheer as your favorite team, the Blues, takes the lead, their colors flying in the wind. The race is intense, the lead changing hands several times before the final lap. As the winning chariot crosses the line, the crowd erupts. In this moment of collective euphoria, you feel a sense of belonging to something larger than yourself, the shared passion uniting people from all walks of life. In our final scene, you are a young man living in the shadow of Hagia Sophia, the grand cathedral of Constantinople. In the year 1453, the massive dome of the building looms above you, a testament to the city's former glory. The year before, the Ottomans had captured Constantinople, ending the Byzantine Empire, and you now live under Ottoman rule. Despite the change in leadership, the grandeur of Hagia Sophia remains undimmed. As you walk through its vast nave, the echoes of your footsteps resonate with the whispers of countless worshippers who came before you. Sunlight streams through the high windows, painting intricate patterns on the floor. Mingling with the scent of incense, the air is thick with the weight of history. You pause, gazing up at the massive dome, marveling at its architectural brilliance. It is a symbol of a bygone era, a reminder of the city's former splendor. And yet, it stands as a silent witness to the passage of time and the ebb and flow of empires. As the last rays of sunlight touch the marble, you feel a profound sense of connection to the past. In this hallowed space, the stories of emperors and commoners, of faith and conquest, converge. The fate of civilizations may have shifted within these very walls, but the legacy of the Byzantine Empire lives on in the art, the architecture, and the spirit of this extraordinary city. Thank you for joining me on this journey through 4 moments in the history of the Byzantine Empire. May these glimpses into the past inspire you to explore further and to discover the echoes of Byzantium in the world today. Until next time, may your days be filled with the wonders of history and the beauty of human endeavor. In today's video, we are going to do something a little different. We're going to try to put ourselves in the shoes of everyday people living in the past. Today, we will visit the world of a silk weaver working in the city of Constantinople. It is the year 1050. The air is warm, scented with orange blossom and wood smoke. The cacophony of the marketplace surrounds you, vendors hawking wares, children chasing stray dogs, the muezzin calling from the nearby mosque. You navigate the throngs of people, merchants from the north and south and east, nobles in fine garments, beggars seeking alms, pilgrims on their way to the great churches. Life here in the heart of the Byzantine Empire is a vibrant mix of cultures and religions. All around you are reminders of the wealth and glory of this city. Gleaming gold leaf domes of Hagia Sophia pierce the sky. The hippodrome, though fallen into disrepair, still hints at chariot races and wild beasts. The scent of incense and roasting lamb drifts from the nearby palace, reminding you that this is the seat of the emperor. But while there is plenty of wealth here, there is little of it for you. You are a simple silk weaver, one of many who have come to the city to play your trade. You follow the sound of a hammer to the steady rhythm of a loom. Around you are others like you, men hunched over their work, manipulating threads with deft hands. The air is thick with the dust of grinding rocks and mortar filled with pigments. Here in the heart of Constantinople, silk is king. This shimmering, almost translucent fabric is highly prized. It is a luxury good fit for emperors and patriarchs. For the Byzantines, silk personified luxury, and so it was an obvious choice for clothing the elite and adorning churches. Indeed, the very presence of silk was a political statement, a tangible demonstration of power and prestige. Each roll of silk brought into the empire was a visible reminder of those who could afford such extravagance. And so the silk industry was tightly regulated. Guilds controlled production, quality, prices, and sales. In fact, the state took a keen interest in silk, issuing regulations that dictated who could weave, what could be woven, and where the finished product could be sold. You stop before a large double door, heavy with age and inlaid with mother of pearl. Behind this portal is your workplace, the domain where you spend most of your waking hours. Pushing open the doors, you step inside. The sun is bright outside, bouncing from gilded domes and terracotta roofs. But as you step through a heavy wooden doorway, The light fades. Inside, the air is cooler, still and thick with the faint odor of oil and dye. The rhythmic clack of wooden frames echoes through the room. Your fellow weavers are bent over their looms, lost in the dance of threads and colors. Here in the dimly lit workshop, surrounded by the constant drone of activity, you are not just a cog in the imperial machine. You are a value contributor, a producer of luxury goods, a weaver of silk. The clack of your loom blends with the murmur of voices discussing the latest news from the city, gossip, rumors, and the occasional joke. The camaraderie of the workshop offers a brief respite from the solitude of your work. And so you settle in, gather your tools, and prepare to weave another bolt of silk for the emperor, for the church, for the rich. The sight of a new skein of thread, the feel of cool linen against your fingers, the smell of fresh dye, all stir a sense of purpose within you. Today, you will create something beautiful, something that will adorn the great cathedral, something that will catch the light just so. You straighten your back, adjust your stool, and push the thread through the loom. The first stroke is always the hardest. As you complete each line, a small satisfaction ripples through you. Soon the rhythm of the loom envelops you. Your hands move back and forth, threading strands finer than hair, adjusting, tugging, repeating. Hours pass, but the work looks the same, thread upon thread, line upon line. The guild forbids shortcuts. Every knot must be tied just so, every color blended with precision. To deviate was not only to risk poor craftsmanship, it was to invite punishment. Inspectors could arrive at any time. A mistake could mean the loss of wages or worse, expulsion from the guild. As the light outside begins to fade, you take a moment to survey your work. Another day, another bolt of silk nearing completion. You run a hand along the length of the cloth. The colors seem to glow, the design shimmer. It is a masterpiece, one among countless others. And yet it is just another day as work for a silk weaver in the great city of Constantinople. For 12 hours a day, we worked at our looms. It was hard to say where day ended and night began. When winter darkness fell early, my eyes strained in the weak lamplight. In summer, the air grew hot and close, and I could feel sweat beating on my brow, soaking into the linen cloth I worked upon. Now, this was just guild life. We weavers were expected to live within our quarter, most of us near others of the same trade. Our families, too, had become bound to the rhythms of the guild. My sons learned the craft from my father before me, and my daughters sometimes helped out too, sorting cocoons or preparing dyes. Entire neighborhoods, they pulsed with the same steady beat of the loom. And yet, despite all the toil, most weavers, they lived modestly. Silk itself was a luxury product, destined for bishops' robes or imperial curtains, not for the backs of those who wove it. The irony was constant. The hands that created beauty rarely touched it once it left the workshop. The merchants from the West, they came eagerly, paying high prices for bolts of Byzantine silk. That silk, it funded the emperor's palaces, his armies, his fortifications. But the weaver himself, he might never see more than a few copper coins in return. Still, there was a rhythm to the life. The clatter of looms, the murmured prayers, we recited as hands moved, the small comforts of bread at midday and wine at dusk. Imagine the slow creak of wood, the faint shimmer of threads catching lamplight, the hum of voices and quiet companionship. It was a life of constraint, of repetition, of careful labor. But it was also a life that sustained the empire's image of splendor. The emperor's robe began here, in a cramped, shadowed room, in the hands of men and women who rarely looked up from their work. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of purple and gold, much like the silk we wove, but we did not pause in our work. For us, the night was just beginning. In the flickering lamplight, I could see the worry lines etched on my husband's forehead, feel the tension in his calloused hands as he expertly threaded the loom. With each passing hour, the shadows deepened, pressing in on us like the darkness that soon would fall outside. My daughters, Alara and Sophia, their nimble fingers flew, creating intricate patterns that seemed to dance before my eyes. I watched them, a mixture of pride and anxiety twisting in my chest. They were so young, yet already their lives were measured by the loom, their days divided by the rhythmic clack of shuttles. Outside, the sounds of evening gradually faded, replaced by the soft murmur of our small community of weavers. In the hushed space between sunset and starlight, we were a symphony of motion. My son, Demetrius, strong and sure-footed now, he moved with the grace of a dancer, leaping from stepladder to table, gathering spools of thread and cones of dye. With every completed piece, a sense of satisfaction, it spread through the room like the scent of freshly brewed wine. Each bolt of silk, a testament to our skill, our endurance, our very lifeblood. It would be sold in distant lands, adorning the wealthy and powerful. Yet here in our humble abode, we dressed in plain linen, our bodies swathed in the very fabric that gave our lives meaning. The lamp sputtered, casting dancing shadows on the wall. I looked at my husband, his face lined and weathered like the old oak tree that stood sentinel outside our home. In his eyes, I saw a lifetime of devotion to his craft, a silent strength that had carried us through years of hardship and plenty. He smiled, a tired but gentle expression that mirrored the quiet dignity of our lives. I reached out to him, my fingers brushing against his calloused hand. In that simple touch, I felt the echo of generations past, the legacy of weavers who had toiled by the light of oil lamps, their hands weaving not just cloth, but the very essence of our existence. With the first hint of dawn, we would rise again, drawn by the inexorable pull of the loom. The sun, it climbed higher, casting a warm glow on the threads that shimmered like spun gold. And as I watched my family working, I knew that even though our lives were bound by the rhythm of the loom, our spirits soared with the sun, our hopes rising like the dough for the bread we would share at midday. For we were weavers, and our lives, they were a tapestry woven with threads of hardship and hope, of sweat and song, of love and loss. And as long as the sun touched the earth and the moon sailed the night sky, our story would continue to unfold in the timeless rhythm of the loom. They married secretly, though gossip spread quickly, causing scandal at court. Justinian's advisors considered Theodora unfit for an imperial wife. In particular, they criticized her family, claiming that they had Jewish and even Egyptian blood. Despite these doubts, Justinian remained steadfast. He married Theodora in a church, promising to love and honor her as his equal. It was a bold statement against the expectations of their time. Soon, their bond was tested. Justinian fell seriously ill, plagued by fever, delirium, and loss of sight. Some whispered that his illness was a punishment from God, given his choice of wife. Yet Theodora never left his side. She cared for him patiently, tending to his needs. And when he recovered, he rewarded her loyalty by making her empress. In 527, Justinian took the throne. With Theodora by his side, he inherited an empire that was vast but troubled. Its eastern provinces were restive. Rebellions simmered and external threats loomed. Nonetheless, the couple set about their task, ruling together in a spirit of partnership. They shared responsibilities, offering a united front. Justinian, the grand strategist and lawmaker, laid out his goals for the empire, aiming to restore its past glory and extend its dominion. He sought to conquer Italy, North Africa, and even Spain, territories lost to various invaders. While Theodora proved equally ambitious, focusing on social reform, she addressed the plight of women. Introducing legal protections against abuse or mistreatment, this was a radical departure from tradition. Women could now own property, giving them more control over their lives and futures. And so the couple ruled, working toward a common purpose, each playing a part crucial to the other. But challenges were mounting. Rebellions flared across the empire, testing its strength and unity. In the face of adversity, their bond was put to the ultimate test. In 532, a series of riots erupted, shaking the foundations of the empire. The citizens of Constantinople turned against the emperor. Their anger was directed at two targets, the emperor and the patrician, a powerful aristocrat named Theodora. Theodora, no relation to the empress, found herself blamed for Justinian's unpopular policies, particularly a new tax on the poor. Her close ties to the emperor fueled the discontent, and soon she became a symbol of the growing unrest. The mob gathered in the hippodrome, demanding her removal from power. For 4 days they protested, their voices echoing through the city, challenging the authority of the emperor. Faced with mounting pressure, Theodora urged her husband to flee. But Justinian refused, insisting on staying and fighting for their throne. Instead, Theodora took charge, rallying support from unexpected quarters. She reached out to the very people who had condemned her, the circus folk, those dancers, actors, and entertainers who had once been her own people. She promised them power if they could bring back order to the city, and they answered her call. These men and women, once marginalized and scorned, rode into the hippodrome on horseback, driving out the rioters. With the crisis averted, Theodora emerged as a new kind of leader, one who drew strength from the city's underbelly, its forgotten and disrespected population. Her triumph was a testament to her resilience, her ability to turn adversity into opportunity. Yet the turmoil of those years was far from over. More rebellions broke out, challenging the authority of Justinian and Theodora. But through it all, they stood firm. They fought for every inch of their empire, for every heart of their people. And when the dust settled, they had not only survived, they had triumphed. Their names were synonymous with power, with the very essence of the Byzantine Empire. Justinian became known as Justinian the Great, the lawmaker, the conqueror. And Theodora, once the actress who had captured a crowd's attention with her looks and sharp tongue, was now Empress Theodora, the woman who had defied convention, won a city, and stood by her husband's side through thick and thin. Together, they left an indelible mark on history, a legacy that echoed through the halls of power and the hearts of ordinary people alike. They say that behind every great man is an equally great woman. While this saying is often used dismissively, implying that a man's success is somehow less impressive when we find out his wife helped him along the way, sometimes there really is a great woman behind a great man. Such was the case with Emperor Justinian. He was certainly one of the greatest emperors the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire ever had. But he never would have achieved what he did without the help of his wife, Theodora. Together, they became a formidable pair. When Justinian ascended the throne in 527, Theodora rose with him, crowned Empress of the Byzantine Empire. As Empress, Theodora defied expectations. She was not content to sit silently in the background. She advised her husband on matters of state, received ambassadors, and spoke with authority. Her influence was especially visible during one of the most dangerous moments of Justinian's reign, the Nika riots. In 532, discontent boiled over in Constantinople. What began as a disturbance at the hippodrome, the site of chariot races where rival factions of spectators displayed their team colors, blue or green, quickly grew into a violent uprising. Fires spread, buildings were destroyed, and mobs filled the streets. Many urged Justinian to flee. But Theodora, calm and resolute, is said to have delivered a speech that steeled her husband's resolve. She reminded him that imperial power was not something to abandon lightly, declaring that she would rather die a ruler than live in flight. Her courage turned the tide. Justinian stayed. The revolt was crushed and the empire held firm. Beyond moments of crisis, Theodora worked to shape the empire in more subtle ways. After she became empress, she championed laws protecting women, especially those vulnerable in society. She established protections for women accused of immorality, perhaps remembering her own struggles in youth. She expanded protections against exploitation, giving voices to those who were often unheard. Still, she remained a figure of controversy. To her admirers, she was wise, strong, and compassionate. To her detractors, she was ambitious, manipulative, even ruthless, but all agreed she could not be ignored. Theodora died young, in her 40s. Thus, her influence on the empire lasted for only 16 years. Yet in that time, she transformed from an entertainer at the margins of society to one of the most powerful women in Byzantine history. Historians have praised her intelligence, her political acumen, and her courage. Her story, woven into the fabric of Justinian's reign, shows us the possibilities that existed even within the rigid hierarchies of the empire. From the darkened workshops of silk to the glittering crown of an empress, the Byzantine world was filled with contrasts. Those who lived in its shadow might toil without recognition, while others, through wit and will, rose to command the fate of nations. A former actress from a disreputable background managed to ascend to become empress. It seems almost as if she stepped out of one of the plays she used to perform. But in real life, as in the theater, it was her sharp mind that won her the audience, or rather kept them, for there were times when the crowds turned against her. One such instance was the famous riot at the Hippodrome, where the two factions supporting the blues and the greens violently clashed. Each side supported their favorite charioteers and had their own elaborate system of signals. When the fans of the blues began abusing the new emperor, Justinian, and his wife, Theodora, by throwing rotten fruit and shouting insults, the emperor considered leaving the city. However, the empress refused to leave her seat. According to Procopius, an imperial historian, she told her husband, "You shouldn't think that someone of royal rank can escape being insulted once in a while, especially when it is a question of maintaining one's position. If you want to live a private life, leave this purple cloak to me." Upon hearing these words, the emperor changed his mind and decided to stay in Constantinople. Theodora then ordered the conspirators arrested and severely punished, and peace returned to the city. Another time Theodora got into trouble was when she unleashed a wave of iconoclasm, which means that she wanted to smash some icons. During her reign, religious disputes were common. In 533, the Monophyite controversy split the empire. This was a theological debate about whether Jesus had one or two wills after his incarnation. When the emperor sided with the Monophysites, a group that believed Jesus only had one will, Theodora and her son, the future Emperor Justin II, converted to the opposing view. She then removed all images of Christ depicted with two wills from churches, monasteries, and public buildings. Some called her an innovator, others a heretic. Although her actions led to division and hostility, Theodora remained steadfast in her beliefs. These controversies reveal the complex character of an empress who navigated the treacherous waters of court politics and religious debates with skill and determination. Her influence on her husband and the empire was undeniable. So the next time you hear the phrase, "Behind every great man is a great woman," pause for a moment and consider if that great woman wasn't standing beside him, not behind him, ready to face whatever challenges came their way. Now, if you enjoyed this episode and want to support us in creating more, please consider making a donation. Until next time, thank you for watching. From the crowded streets and lively courts of Constantinople, let us step now into a space of stillness and light, the great church of Hagia Sophia. Imagine yourself approaching it in the heart of the city. Its vast dome rises above the skyline, shimmering as if it floats on air. Marble walls, pale and polished, stretch upwards. The gates open and you enter into a cavern of space that swallows sound, where footsteps echo softly across stone floors. For centuries, this was the beating heart of the city, a place where emperors were crowned and people came to pray or simply to stand in awe of its beauty. The Hagia Sophia was more than a church. It was a symbol of the empire's soul. Built under Emperor Justinian in the 6th century, it stood as the crowning achievement of Byzantine architecture. Inside, the light itself seemed to shift and dance. Windows high in the dome poured golden rays down into the nave, and everywhere mosaics glittered like jewels. To the people of Constantinople, they must have seemed like fragments of heaven, a tangible link between earth and the divine. But these mosaics hold mysteries. Who are these serene figures? What stories do they silently narrate? To understand them, we must first peer through the mists of time and uncover the secrets of the Hagia Sophia. Let's begin our exploration of the mosaics with a closer look at the central dome. Imagine standing in the nave and looking up. There, at the very heart of the church, is a radiant Christ enthroned. He is surrounded by a circle of prophets, each absorbed in a scroll, their faces turned towards the divine. Above them, nestled within the curve of the dome, is the Holy Spirit, a dove, sending light cascading down onto the worshippers below. Gazing up at this image, the faithful would have been reminded of Christ's promise, "I am with you always, even to the end of time." These mosaics serve not just as decoration, but as living sermons. They proclaim the majesty of Christ and the dominion of God. But they also told stories from the Old Testament, tales that spoke of Christ's ancestry and foreshadowed his coming. Look closely at one prophet. Do you see the inscription above him? It reads, "And there shall come a star from Jacob, and he who shall enlighten the nations." This mosaic was meant to resonate with those gathered within the church. They would have recognized these stories, these figures from their own traditions, and felt a sense of continuity that linked past and present. As we move through the church, we encounter other images, some familiar, some not so. Do you see the Virgin Mary holding the Christ child? She is flanked by 2 angels, one playing a musical instrument, the other holding a scroll. Nearby, we see the Archangel Gabriel announcing the birth of John the Baptist to Zechariah. These scenes from the life of Mary and the Nativity would have been instantly recognizable, anchoring the faithful in their shared beliefs, yet there's more. The Hagia Sophia also immortalized earthly figures, the emperors and empresses who ruled over the city. Here we see an emperor presenting a model of the city of Constantinople to Christ. It's a powerful image, one that reminds us of the close relationship between church and state in the Byzantine world. The emperor was not merely a ruler, but a God-appointed steward of the empire. These mosaics glorified not just the divine, but the human role in spreading Christianity. They proclaimed the work of the emperor as a holy endeavor, sanctioned and blessed by God. Sadly, many of these mosaics are now lost, victims of a violent period known as iconoclasm. During the 8th and 9th centuries, iconoclastic emperors took the destruction of sacred images. To halt this practice, defenders of the icons fought back. Eventually, the practice of destroying icons ceased. However, many icons were lost during this tumultuous period. Some were defaced or removed altogether, while others lay hidden, covered in plaster for centuries. Only in the 19th century did conservation efforts uncover many of these buried treasures. Today, visitors to the Hagia Sophia can marvel at these rediscovered works. Restorations have revealed much of the church's former glory, allowing us to catch a glimpse of what life was like in the time of Byzantium. As you wander through the vast space of the Hagia Sophia, remember that every mosaic tells a story. Each image is a silent witness to a bygone era, whispering tales of faith, power, and artistry. These mosaics are more than just beautiful pieces of art. They're fragments of a soul that once beat strong within the heart of Constantinople. A few gold fragments shimmer on the far wall. Can you see them? It's hard to tell what they are. Perhaps a face, serene and beautiful, frozen in an eternal moment of prayer. Or maybe just the glint of sunlight off broken marble. Look closer. Do you see the hand raised in blessing? Or is that just the curve of a stone? Carved centuries ago, it was part of something grander. It glittered in the lamplight, commanding awe. Now it glows faintly under a single bare bulb, barely visible under thick layers of dust. This is all that remains of a glorious past, a whisper of what once was. Today we stand here and wonder, who was she? What did she see? What has been lost? The image is gone. Only a few golden tesserae glimmer faintly under centuries of dust. These fragments, silent witnesses to a vanished age, force us to confront the relentless march of time, the decay of empires, the fading of memories. But the story doesn't end there. For tucked away in a quiet corner of Istanbul, a trove of Byzantine mosaics has survived, hidden from the world for nearly 8 centuries. Now you can explore these treasures yourself through a new exhibition at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Before we dive into the exhibit, I have a question for you. What do you see when you look at these mosaics? What do they reveal about life 1,000 years ago? And what might they be trying to tell us today? Please share your thoughts below. We'd love to hear what you discover. Now let's go back in time. Picture yourself stepping into the majestic Hagia Sophia in the year 1000. Sunlight streams through the immense dome, illuminating a sight that takes your breath away. Brilliant gold mosaics adorn the walls, depicting biblical scenes and celestial beings. These exquisite works of art weren't merely decorations. They were meant to convey a profound message. To the worshippers gathered here, the mosaics were a tangible link to the divine, a way of experiencing heaven on earth. The main gallery of the Met's exhibition is titled Divine Light. The works in this section all come from the central dome of the Hagia Sophia. You can see how light played a crucial role in their creation and function. During the height of the Byzantine Empire, the Emperor Constantine Porphyrogenitos initiated a massive program to beautify the Hagia Sophia. He wanted to transform it into a visual feast, a spectacle that would showcase the wealth and power of the empire. Thus, over a span of 2 decades, starting around the year 960, the architects and artists toiled to cover the interior with stunning mosaics. Among them were the Empress's workshop, a group of artisans dedicated to creating these intricate pieces. Their work was highly specialized, involving cutting, shaping, and placing tiny pieces of colored glass, known as tesserae. With meticulous precision, they assembled these tesserae into elaborate designs, breathing life into religious narratives and symbolic imagery. Their tools were simple, including a small hammer, a steel chisel, and a copper knife. They cut the tiles by tapping them with the hammer and then scraped away the excess with a copper blade. Each mosaic was painstakingly crafted, a testament to the skill and dedication of the artisans. The result, a visual masterpiece that bathed the interior of the Hagia Sophia in a kaleidoscope of colors. Among the most striking were the golden backgrounds, achieved by setting gold leaf into plaster. This gave the impression of shimmering brilliance, as if the figures depicted on the mosaics were radiating heavenly light. The play of light and color created an ethereal atmosphere, transporting the worshippers to a realm beyond the mundane. The exhibition also features a recreation of the imperial box, where the emperors watched the divine liturgy celebrated in the Hagia Sophia. Surrounded by rich colors and divine imagery, the emperors felt a profound connection to the spiritual realm. It was a privilege reserved for the most powerful, a tangible reminder of their closeness to God. Yet the story of these mosaics is one of both splendor and sorrow. In 1204, during the Fourth Crusade, the Western European armies sacked Constantinople, pillaging and destroying countless treasures, including many of the Hagia Sophia's mosaics. Later, when the Ottoman Sultan Mahmud the Conqueror seized Constantinople in 1453, the church was converted into a mosque. Some mosaics were covered with plaster to obscure their imagery, which was deemed incompatible with Islamic teachings. Over the centuries, these buried mosaics lay in obscurity until they were rediscovered during restoration work in the 1930s. Now, after nearly 8 centuries, they are finally unveiled, offering us a rare glimpse into a world long gone. As you wander through the Met's galleries, surrounded by the haunting beauty of these ancient mosaics, let your mind drift back to the days when the Hagia Sophia stood resplendent, a beacon of Christian faith and artistic excellence. Let their timeless allure transport you to an era when emperors reveled in their glory and worshippers found solace in the divine radiance that bathed these very walls. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. If you enjoyed this experience, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to embark on more adventures. From the hush of Hagia Sophia, let us step outside once more and wander a short distance to the edge of the city's great heart. There, beyond high walls and guarded gates, lies another world entirely, the imperial palace of Constantinople. Imagine, if you will, the year is 527 CE, and you are standing before its entrance. Soldiers in polished armor stand watch, their spears gleaming faintly in the sunlight. Before you, the palace stretches like a small city unto itself. Halls, gardens, chapels, and courtyards weave together in a vast maze of power. Through its many gates, a visitor could easily lose themselves. For most Byzantines, this place was forever out of reach. They might glimpse its walls or see processions emerging through its gates, but the life inside remained mysterious, almost dreamlike. Tonight we step gently past the guards, through the gates, and into the palace itself. The palace was not a single building, but a sprawling complex. Picture corridors lined with marble, floors of polished stone inlaid with colorful patterns, and courtyards where fountains murmured softly. Perfumed gardens offered shade from the heat, their paths winding among orange trees, roses, and cypresses. A cool breeze carried the scent of jasmine and the distant sound of a flute. Statues of emperors, stern and unyielding, lined colonnades, their gazes fixed on some distant horizon. Within these silent figures, the memory of past rulers seemed to linger. Life within these walls followed rituals as strict as the guild rules of the silk weavers. Every action, every movement of the emperor was choreographed with ceremony. Court officials in richly embroidered robes awaited the emperor's arrival. When he entered, they bowed deeply, according to rank, their gestures rehearsed and exact. The emperor himself was no ordinary man in the eyes of his subjects. He was seen as chosen by God, a living link between heaven and earth. His robe shimmered with silk and gold thread, his crown heavy with jewels. When he sat upon his throne, surrounded by courtiers and ambassadors, the atmosphere was one of awe. The throne room, the chrysotriclinos, glowed with splendor. Imagine standing within it, gilded mosaics above, golden curtains swaying gently, and mechanical marvels said to amaze visiting envoys. Lions made of bronze might suddenly roar, or a golden tree shimmer with artificial birdsong. These devices, part real and part legend, reinforced the sense that the emperor's power was more than human. Light filtered through stained glass windows, painting the marble floor in hues of red and blue. Incense, the smell of cinnamon and myrrh, hung in the air, mingling with the murmur of prayers and the rustle of silk. The throne stood at the far end, a monument of gold and precious stones. To approach it was to journey across a world of shimmering colors and echoing silence. But the palace was more than just a place of splendor. It was a microcosm of the empire itself. Here, merchants from India and Arabia displayed their wares, vying for the emperor's favor. There, diplomats from distant kingdoms negotiated treaties that would shape the course of history. In the hippodrome, crowds roared with excitement as chariots thundered around the track, the echoes of their cheers mingling with the shouts of vendors and the bleating of goats. Yet even within these bustling crowds, there was always the sense of something greater, of a power that lay just beyond the reach of ordinary men. As night fell, the palace came alive with music and laughter. In the courtyard, fountains danced in the moonlight, their spray sparkling like diamonds. Musicians played lively tunes, their melodies weaving together in a rich tapestry of sound. The emperor's daughter, the Princess Theodora, known for her sharp wit and intelligence, might join the revels, her presence a source of fascination for the courtiers. For a brief moment, the weight of the crown would seem to lift, and the palace would be transformed into a place of joy and abandon. Yet even as the night wore on, there was always the awareness that this world too was a stage. Every smile, every jest, every whispered word was carefully measured, for the eyes of history were upon them all. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, the festivities began to wind down. Theodora, ever the observer, might slip away from the revels and find a quiet spot in the palace gardens. Here, amidst the fragrant flowers and the murmuring fountains, she could shed the burdens of her royal life and be just a girl for a moment. Theodora knew that her life was not her own. Her every move was dictated by the needs of the empire, her every decision weighed and analyzed by the court. But in this moment of quiet solitude, she was free. She was simply Theodora, the emperor's daughter, and in that freedom, she found a strength that would serve her well in the years to come. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time. If you enjoyed this glimpse into the imperial palace of Constantinople, I invite you to stay tuned for more historical adventures. Together, we can keep the stories of our past alive and learn from the echoes of those who came before us. You're visiting the great city of Constantinople in the year 532 A.D. and in the imperial palace, the seat of power for the Eastern Roman Empire. But what does a palace look like when it is not just a home, but a microcosm of an empire? What is life like behind the gilded gates of the emperor's palace? Let's find out. Welcome to the series. Today we're exploring the emperor's palace in Constantinople. Click the link above to set sail with us, and let's begin our tour. The vastness of the palace is almost overwhelming. Statues of emperors gaze down from marble columns. Golden mosaics adorn the walls, depicting biblical scenes and the imperial family tree. Sunlight streams through stained glass windows, casting kaleidoscopic patterns on the floor. You hear the murmur of courtiers and servants moving through the labyrinthine corridors. Suddenly, a fanfare of trumpets announces the arrival of the emperor. A procession of priests and deacons follows close behind him, their chanting echoing through the great hall. They are followed by soldiers in gleaming armor and jeweled uniforms, their weapons polished to perfection. Their presence is a constant reminder of the dangers that lurk beyond the palace walls. For all its splendor, the palace is also a fortress. But palace life was not only ritual and spectacle. It was also politics, subtle and constant. Behind every ceremony lay whispered conversations, alliances, and rivalries. Courtiers vied for influence. Empresses and advisors shaped policy with careful words. Letters were written, deals struck, promises made and broken, all within the same halls where processions of priests and choirs might fill the air with sacred chants. Now it's lunchtime, and the great kitchens are in full swing. Cooks, butlers, and servants hurry to prepare a feast fit for an emperor. Ovens are stoked, spits are turned, and the air fills with the aromas of roasting lamb, fresh fish, and exotic spices carried on the winds from faraway lands. The palace staff works tirelessly to ensure that the emperor and his guests are well fed and entertained. Musicians play softly as the king enters the dining room. Golden goblets gleam on the table, laden with dishes of lamb, fish, and fruits. Spiced with flavors from distant lands, the wine flows freely and cups are raised in toasts. While the emperor sits on a golden throne at the center of it all, he is served by a team of attendants who anticipate his every need. The king surveys his domain, his gaze sweeping over the bustling courtyard, the palace gardens, or the distant sea. His thoughts are far-reaching as his empire stretches from the borders of Persia to the shores of Spain. After lunch, you wander through the palace, discovering hidden courtyards, shaded by marble columns and adorned with statues of legendary heroes. A fountain tinkles merrily in the center, its water sparkling in the sunlight. You stop to admire a mosaic depicting a biblical story, the vibrant colors still dazzling after all these centuries. A group of women are gossiping in low voices, their laughter echoing through the courtyard. Children chase each other through the arches, their games echoing in the vast space. As dusk falls, the palace comes alive with a new energy. Oil lamps are lit, their flames dancing in the evening breeze. The great hall is transformed, the shadows lengthening and deepening with the setting sun. The emperor sits on his throne, his face half hidden in the gloom. A council of advisors stands before him, their faces illuminated by the flickering light of the lamps. They discuss matters of state, their voices hushed but their words carrying weight. The fate of the empire may hang in the balance as they deliberate. After the council meeting, the emperor makes his way to his private chambers. Here, the atmosphere is more relaxed, the decor more intimate. Tapestries hang on the walls, hiding the vastness of the palace behind them. A small fire crackles in the hearth, casting a warm glow on the room. The emperor removes his crown and heavy robes, allowing himself a rare moment of respite. But even here, he is not entirely alone. Pages and servants move silently through the room, anticipating his every need. They are an unseen presence, a constant reminder that even in the emperor's private chambers, he is never truly alone. For the people of Constantinople outside the walls, the palace is both distant and present. Its rituals spill into public life through grand processions where the emperor appears before his subjects, carried in shining robes through the hippodrome or the great streets. On feast days, the divide between palace and city seems to blur as crowds cheer and banners fly. Yet when the gates close once more, the palace returns to its world apart, a microcosm of the empire, splendid and complex, filled with both beauty and intrigue, bound together by rituals and faith, yet vulnerable to change. Its walls witness triumph and betrayal, prayers and plots, joy and despair. As you picture it now, let the images soften, marble halls bathed in lamplight, quiet fountains and shaded courtyards, the distant echo of footsteps along mosaic floors, a world at once magnificent and fragile, much like the empire it represented. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Time Travel. Don't forget to click the link above to continue your journey through time and space. Subscribe for more adventures and be sure to tune in next time for a new destination. Until then, keep exploring and stay curious. And so, we come to the end of our quiet journey through the Byzantine world. We began in the shadowed workshops of the silk weavers, where patient hands moved endlessly back and forth, weaving threads that would clothe emperors but never themselves. From there, we followed the path of Theodora, rising from the crowded stages of the circus to the gilded throne beside Justinian, her voice shaping the destiny of an empire. We stood beneath the vast dome of Hagia Sophia, where mosaics shimmered like fragments of heaven, some lost, some hidden, some enduring against the tides of time. And finally, we walked through the imperial palace, past its marble halls and perfumed gardens, where power and ritual entwined like vines around a trellis. The Byzantine Empire was, in many ways, a world of contrasts: splendor and hardship, faith and doubt, tradition and change. For 1,000 years, it stood as a bridge between East and West, a place where the hum of daily work sustained the glitter of crowns and domes. And now, as we lie here now listening, perhaps you can let these images blur softly in your mind: the rhythm of the loom, the murmur of prayers, the gleam of mosaics, the hush of palace corridors, all fading into one another like ripples on still water. The lives we glimpsed tonight were distant yet familiar. Their struggles, their hopes, their routines remind us that history is not only the story of battles and rulers. It is also the story of ordinary hands, ordinary voices, and ordinary days. And so, as we bring our journey to a close, you may let your thoughts drift further still into quiet, into stillness, into rest. May the weight of the past ease into silence, and may the comfort of the present cradle you as you sleep. We are nearly finished with our tale of the Byzantine silk weavers. There is just one more episode left. But if you've enjoyed this episode and the others in the series so far, I have a little surprise for you. Our friends at Another Angle have created a companion podcast for the silk and the... Each week, they will take you deeper into the heart of the Byzantine world, speaking with experts and discussing topics in even greater detail than we can manage in the constraints of the radio play format. They'll be talking about everything from the history of silk to the real-life Saint Theodora, the empress. You can find the first 2 episodes already waiting for you right now on the Another Angle podcast feed or wherever you get your podcasts. In the first episode, Dr. Lizzie Meets, a specialist in medieval art and architecture, talks about the experience of making the silk and how the creative team brought the Byzantine world to life. In the second episode, Professor Robin Cormack, author of several books on Byzantine history, discusses the historical setting of the story, helping us understand the world of the early imperial period. And in future episodes, you'll hear from even more experts. Now, while the podcast is free for you to listen to, Another Angle is asking for your support in order to keep producing these bonus podcasts. So please go to anotherangle.audio right now and make a small contribution. You'll receive the password to unlock all of the premium content, including the bonus podcast feed. Plus, you'll be supporting an independent production company dedicated to bringing you the very best in historical storytelling. And so, as we bring our journey to a close, you may let your thoughts drift further still into quiet, into stillness, into rest. May the weight of the past ease into silence, and may the comfort of the present cradle you as you sleep.
Tonight's story comes to a close. If your eyes have gently shut, then I wish you a deep, peaceful sleep until we meet again in the next dream.